Alright, so with KAZUHA having now officially released across all servers, players are of course finally getting their hands on the live version of the character. And with that, unfortunately, there seems to be a bit of a controversy surrounding the character right now, so that is what we will be covering with this video, along with some early impressions of the character now that I've had some time to mess around with this kit. Hello kings, queens, and majesties, welcome to Whalestat. I am Sliceable Otaku. And like many others, I have been enthusiastically waiting quite a while for the release of KAZUHA. So much so that I made sure to have everything prepared for his release in terms of resources, and even went as far as to taking the guide to C6 immediately. Bear in mind that I am indeed a whale and intend to collect every character in the game for the foreseeable future, but even with that in mind, there are certain characters I find myself more interested in or excited about than others, and KAZUHA really piqued my interest, as I'm sure you can tell. And for a long time, this excitement was based on the knowledge provided to us by way of leaks and such, which are surely subject to change and all that, so a grain of salt is always held and accounted for. However, when the time comes for MIHOYO to elaborate, confirm, and/or detail the various aspects of a character, there shouldn't really be a reason to doubt such a thing. But sadly, that is exactly the predicament we now find ourselves in with KAZUHA, and this problem has a lot of people, even those who particularly like the character, frustrated. Now, the source of this issue is the description of KAZUHA's Ascension 4 passive skill, Poetics of Fubutsu, a skill that reads as such. Upon triggering a swirl reaction, Kirahara KAZUHA will grant teammates a 0.04 elemental damage bonus to their corresponding element for every point of elemental mastery he has for 8 seconds. Bonuses for different elements obtained through this method can coexist. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the interpretation of something like this is very straightforward and leaves little to ambiguity or potential confusion. Anytime KAZUHA causes a swirl reaction, he additionally provides a buff to the elemental damage of his teammates associated with the particular element for every point of elemental mastery he himself possesses, what is referred to as a rainbow buff by the community, considering it stands to benefit all elemental types. But in actuality, this skill does nothing of the sort, because for whatever reason, contrary to what is advertised, this buff is strictly limited to elements presently swirled, a reality that sucks a whole lot of support potential from this otherwise really exciting support feature. So for instance, if you were to have KAZUHA, Diluc, Diona, and Xingqiu on a team and swirled Cryo from Diona, then suddenly, everyone, including your Diluc and Xingqiu, would now come to possess a cryo damage bonus that is worthless to them, which makes building teams for KAZUHA a whole lot more restrictive and tedious. I had been looking forward to pairing KAZUHA with a longtime favorite of mine, Albedo, for a while, and although the two do still have the ability to synergize pretty well, it's not quite as amazing as it could have been. And I think that everyone who is upset about the reality of this skill is completely justified in feeling as such, as it has been falsely advertised. Yes, the game is developed overseas, but even still, this is a multi-million-dollar game with players all across the globe. So at this point, there is really no excuse for such poor and misleading translations. For something to have made it this far into the actual game itself is pretty disappointing. And so more than fixing this in regards to KAZUHA as a character, I at the very least hope that they improve this aspect of their operation to prevent these sorts of issues in the future. A less informed player is all but bound to mistake the skill's implications, which therefore may lead to a misguided purchase, and that is not good at all. In regards to the potential of MIHOYO rectifying this by making the skill as written, that would be nice, but I can't say that I'll be holding my breath. And as many have pointed out, this skill as written was kinda what truly separated KAZUHA's abilities as a 5-star apart from all the rest. It stood to give him a pretty unique use in team compositions and a flexibility that is always appreciated. Now, to be real with you, with my KAZUHA being maxed on constellations, I am here having a blast regardless, using the guy not as a support, but as a main DPS or a quick swap to amazing results, but that's not good at all. You never want a character's true value to be locked behind constellations. That being said, however, if you are even just a light spender, getting KAZUHA up to Constellation 1 alone feels really rewarding, and you can definitely run him as a main DPS with just that alone, I assure you. Certainly one of the best constellation sets in the game, but again, constellations should never be the standard for a good character mechanically. Now, because of how this skill works in actuality, my attention to elemental mastery has diminished substantially, and so I opt to more so run him with the Jade Cutter instead of the Freedom Sworn, which was pretty much made for him. Which I don't mind at all. Jade Cutter has been sitting on the shelf since Zhao for me, back when I was annoyed by the fact that I'd rolled it, and it's far more aesthetically pleasing for KAZUHA to wield as far as I'm concerned. But hey, since I have Albedo as his sidekick anyways, Freedom Sworn still has its place on the team. Weapon banners are truly the utmost sort of luxury, and to me at least, feel more like a scam than anything else, but man, it is clear that MIHOYO intended for the guy to be a support all in on elemental mastery. But if nobody ends up running him like that, I would imagine a change is to be in order. And listen, the last time an instant favorite of mine was underwhelming at launch, he later got a buff, and now people beg for his rerun. I am of course talking about Albedo, and I don't think that KAZUHA is underwhelming either. I think that he's just good. He's not game breaking, he's not incredible, he's not going to just like level the playing field across the board, he's not a Ganyu, but he is a good character, and more than that, he's a very, very fun character. So yeah, KAZUHA may be largely outmatched as a support by some of his fellow animal peers, but the guy is damn fun to play, and for me at least, a whole lot more fun to play than someone like Sucrose, who a lot of people are arguing is a better support in that field, but the numbers aren't so substantially different that I would imagine it would warrant me detracting from my own enjoyment. Now, in the midst of making this video, MIHOYO have actually released a statement on the subject. They admit that there is an issue with the skill's description, although in practice, it works as they intended. Their plan is to revise this description at some point to instead say, upon triggering a swirl reaction, Keitahara KAZUHA will grant all party members a 0.04 elemental damage bonus to the element absorbed by swirl for every point of elemental mastery he has for 8 seconds. Bonuses for different elements obtained through this method can coexist. What is a very different statement indeed. Now, mistakes do happen, but come on man, the fact that this information even made it to the live stream and still wasn't corrected is unacceptable. And with so many people feeling strongly about this, we would love to know how you feel about all this down below. With KAZUHA, I for one feel like I am really playing as the main character, and it is a great feeling. To everyone who wanted KAZUHA and has now received him, let me know if you are having a similar experience or not, and if there's anyone who has been turned away from the character or perhaps wouldn't have pulled for him if you were aware of this reality, please let your voice be heard. And listen, once I have more experience with the character, we will have a guide and some builds for you guys, so be sure to stick around by subscribing to WhaleStat with notifications on. I have been your host, Sliceable Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.